Hello, good morning. Welcome to another ES Futures trading stream. Today is Tuesday. It is October 28th. It is the second day of the last week of October. A week that is packed with news, scheduled to have like a ton of news to be released, and probably the volatility, the expected volatility can be high here. But there's always a but, right? VIX is not reflecting the risk that this market is having. We were talking last week or the previous weeks about how the potential effects of the shutdown can have in this market. Being the shutdown a negative and markets being always looking forward looking, the potential for the resolution of the shutdown is basically positive. And it looks like, at least to me, it seems like that is already priced in this market. It's already priced. And what I have been seeing is basically trading, and we just have to adapt to whatever is what we have in front of us. Let's trade what I have to trade, or must trade what I have in front of my screen, and not what I wish I should have. Yesterday, to be honest, I wasn't interested at all in what happened yesterday. There was some sort of biases yesterday at the close. Really, and this happens all the time when you see traders shorting the market, just because what we have here on this day, which is a long liquidation, and the next thing also we have a long liquidation. This liquidation is even further, right? It extends below half back of this range, but leaves a very questionable high here, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 highs, something like that. And this day being basically aiming to run all the stops that we have here. Right? And what's the next thing? Right, we have a day here, and we are going to have a liquidation here. This time all the way down, maybe to half back of this, maybe to the center of this gap. Right? And of course, the next thing the market does is just the opposite. It leaves an unfinished action down here and opens. This is just unbelievable here. It just keeps going higher and higher, man. Just don't fight. Look at this, what we have. Look at this. And all of this short inventory here is basically squeezed just before the opening, which leaves inventory for this overnight kind of like slightly on the shorts in the long side. And here comes the other thing, right? Basically in what I have said here, we got this liquidation here, this liquidation here. What do you think is going to happen here? The market is going to attempt to close the gap and it's going to go higher, right? That is what I think most traders would have been thinking at this moment. But it really presented a nice opportunity for this market to close the gap here. And man, this business is about risk, right? Context, and seeing an opportunity and just placing a bet. Right? We always can lose here. We always can lose. We will lose all the time. We may lose. Okay, Give me a second. I need to do something. All right, never mind. Okay, and the opportunity came when I have this spike here. The market opened actually very close, a little bit from the high of the spike of the overnight, right? Which give us actually excess here. We have really nice excess now in this market. That could have been one piece of information that could lead to take a short here. But context, always, right? Context is front and center here. The market is trending higher. We have a daily time frame, we have a weekly time frame, we have a monthly time frame, all them just shooting to the moon now. Kind of like in parabolic style. And hold it for what I think is basically the big 7, right? Max. Give me a second. Let me put this chart here. This is not what I wanted to bring. Oh, by the way, I consider the trade has been done. The opportunity has come. I'm trying to trade now, for me at least, would be kind of like chasing a trade. This is the ETF that follows the big 7, right? I think they should include Nvidia here as well. But checking at these highs here, what you have here, just very, very questionable, right? Highs. And the stock market is basically being carried by these tech companies. And look at the volume we have here in the last months. It's kind of like increasing, weekly also increasing a little bit, but overall it's kind of like I wouldn't say high. Increasing, but I wouldn't say high. But it has went parabolic, and some sort of rebalancing here is possible. Right? That's one thing, that one piece of the context. From yesterday, this is really interesting what happened yesterday. And now we have a bunch of big blocks here that have 1800, and the closing, and this is after the close and the run off period, 1400 during the last period, during M, just as the setting the market as the base of the spike, setting the base of the spike, right? And the overnight closing with big blocks up here around basically what it is now. These numbers here, this one. Let me enclose this one here, this one here, and this one here, right? It sets the market. Notice the tendency, right? It goes higher, setting the market for something. What it is, I have no idea. Right? Those ones in my chart, in my profile charts, I have named it. I have these red blocks here, and when it is before the closing, just like seconds or 1 minute before 5 p.m. during the overnight, I do these rectangles here, 3,000 here, 1,000 here. Actually, it's the opposite. All right, let's fix this. And this has a lot to do with the trade, right? That was place it. This actually is like that. Because we have seen over and over, yeah, that look at these daily profiles here. Right. What happened during the intraday also happens during regular trading hours. Time and time again, we're seeing these areas being tested, these areas of volume being tested. This area, the volume seems, this looks like short covering, by the way. This one looks like short covering with volume packed up here. This one as well. Look at during this day. Just pay attention to the numbers. Almost 40,000 contracts here. At the high of yesterday, 30,000. Right? How many periods we have during this day? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, something like that. Same volume came yesterday, around the same volume, well, kind of close to me, but only one period here. That is just, that's a nuance. That's a piece of information that is there for something. In this level, there's a lot of, I don't know what is this. To be honest, I think the risk in this market is really high. We have seen how after the trade, aiming to close, just to close the gap, that's it. Aiming to close this gap. There I believe the market comes a little bit further down here, right down to saddle, right down to overnight POC, which is a mechanical low here. This low is very questionable, right? And after that, the market retraces almost all the way back to the basal spike. Really fast, in less than a second. And a fraction of a second goes back up there. Boom. Those kind of spikes, for me, I see those ones as an opportunity to go in the direction of the market, and what the market is doing is going at that specific time, which was to the downside. But considering all what I have said, all the context, the risk was increasing that the short, was going to be effective again, right? Because the next thing now, what I'm monitoring now is what happened to value now. Because this market has re-entered this range. It may target this low here, but it's not unusual to see buying or some kind of response or counteraction coming from this kind of level. Settle, overnight POC, the 60, what we have here is we have a 6,900. From yesterday, this profile is very, very questionable, coming from halfback here, double lows here, right? And finishing this part here that I have highlighted at white is this. Is this part here. After we have back and forth, consolidation here, breakout, you have a breakout, fake out. What follows here, basically, is just nothing. Really low volume. There is nothing moving this market higher. And to close the market, also nothing. It seems to me like this market is being pushed, right, by very few participants here. Whoever is kind of like, how come it's being propped higher? Just that. So maybe you can have bigger swings to the downside. Now, another thing from yesterday, just check out the volumes that were coming. This is not to be 10,000, over, this is 5-digit volumes in a market that is going higher, right? more here, more here, more here, more here, more here. Can you see? And these two periods here were very close as well. Were very close, and the absolutely high that we have up here, 30,000 at 6,910. So you wouldn't be weird to have this level checked because this is just outstanding volume. Really, really outstanding volume. But if what I can almost see here is traders or short-term traders trying to short this market, just selling, right? Because what happened Friday, what happened Thursday, and this market is just keep going, cannot go lower, man. Just keep going higher and higher and higher. You can see the desperation of these guys, right? That see that can see, right? You can feel it. You can feel the pain here, just going higher, during the long off period here, and basically holding up here, preventing any break, to the downside during this long off period. That's what I saw yesterday. And that is what I believe set the market for an attempt to close the gap today. Now both markets now moving forward, I consider now this trade done. That was one opportunity, and it looks. I will replay this action here. But we can see here that the current low of today is very questionable here. Nasdaq also has a gap that has not been closed. We have Russell way below to the downside. It's actually coming back into range. The Dow is holding the gap, and Nasdaq also holding the gap. So indices are not in sync yet, but all them, looking higher. Okay. This kind of lows have a tendency to not be a lasting one. Now, there's one thing here. This market is going higher. This market is basically at the high of the bar, or the high of the weekly bar, at the high of the monthly bar. We are scheduled to have significant news releases here. We will see tomorrow. We have a Chairman Powell press conference tomorrow with what seems to be a decision that will come from the Fed to cut rates, and the market has priced two more rate cuts in what is left of the year. Now, if we check VIX here, let's check VIX here. Now, it looks like this market has been hedged now in both directions. We were talking about how, and this happens also all the time, when when the market has events or news releases scheduled, kind of like back to back to back to back to back, the more there are, the higher the odds that this market may have some swings, right? Some wide swings, either to the upside or to the downside, or both, right? We can have those swings, and a way to protect portfolios is to hedge, right? Either if you have a short, you have a long, you'll need some hedge in there. And when the market was breaking, we have this significant hedge here. And what's happened with this big rally that we have had, right? We have this big rally now. The hedge now is to the opposite side. So this market can do whatever they want to do, and what I believe is left here is just short-term trading. Just short-term trading, After this week, we have November, and basically the expectation for this market to close, with a bang, to close the year with a bang here. This has been a spectacular year, and the odds that the market retraces significantly from these highs. I don't know how good those odds are, even though there's tremendous amount of risk right now. Just let's look at this. Let's look at this chart. Look at how far this market has come from these lows, right? Look at that. From April to November. Boy, that's something. Almost 2,000 points here. And about this would be, let's calculate how much is this. 6930 divided by 6,200. Come on, man. $69.30 divided by 6150. 69.30 divided by 69.50. Ah. 12%. 12. Let's call it 13% higher relative to last year. But if you check from here, let's check how much it is. Look at that. Look at that advance. That's just impressive. 40% from the lows. Granted, what happened here, right? What happened here, what maybe happened here was what happened here in this area. All of this downside you have here is, you don't wait until they're here to hedge portfolios. You will start hedging probably in this range for any kind of movement that may happen here. What worries me here now is that the tone that this market has set, man. Everybody knows now. Everybody knows that this market is going to bounce. Every time that breaks, that significant break is going to bounce. So what do you do? What's the strategy that comes from that? Just hold, right? Just hold. Just hold. And that is becoming very risky now. You know, that is the risk that this market has or has been increasingly accumulating throughout these years. But that is a broader view of what might happen, right? I am not an investor. I am a trader, and my time frame is a very short time frame. I am intraday trading trader. I am a day trader. I don't even trade the overnight. So that is my scope, right? So what happens in the bigger time frame? I have to be able, man. I have to be able to allow those thoughts, right? What is the underlying, and just don't care about that, or do not allow that to interfere, to give me biases to what I am trying to do in this market. As we speak, the market has formed an inside bar. Let me add the profile. It has formed an inside bar. There's a breakout of that inside bar. Every time this market has had an inside bar, the breakout was to the upside in the past weeks, and the market has had upside continuations. Traders are used to that now. Traders are used to that. We have rotation here now. We didn't have direction here, and now we have an auction that is to the upside, right? With the first rotation that is coming to the market. I wouldn't even be sure to call it a rotation. Nasdaq has a downside here. The breakout in Nasdaq has happened to the downside. So this one is either to match Nasdaq or Nasdaq is going to match the ES. I'm looking to the ES here for maybe, I don't know. I still don't have anything here. I think, or it seems like Nasdaq is challenging this gap, is attempting to close this gap. Notice how it has built volume, medium volume. You have higher volume here at the high. This is short, looks like short covering, and now this market is attempting to close the gap. No, it hasn't even reached this chunk of volume up here. It's rather building. Now is chewing into the gap here. Let's see if the ES can hold the breakout of this inside. This inside bar. Oh, and by the way, this is what I am almost done with we're almost done with my volume charts for the ES. Notice the volume we have. This is higher volume, but check what happened right after. This is the opening period, right? High volume, when it's moving lower, right? This is a very nice education without this is happening live, right? And notice what happened right after that. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. Let's see, I can make this higher. By the way, yesterday's was low. As the market goes higher, volume decreases, right? Which that's not a good sign for the longs. I want to see volume actually increasing. Right, so that's one. The first sign, we have higher volume in this period. The next thing what happens, volume decreases here. And so what do I have here? What I have here is risk increasing here. Well, whatever comes after that, after this, if this volume remains the same, oh, by the way, don't pay attention to this. This is, I have several here. I have used this chart here to build this one here, and that one to build this one here. This is the final. I am still, I say I was done, but there is just some tweaks that this one needs. I think. No, actually that's it. I got the scale here, 200. This is the current volume, 200,000. For example, I have 230,000. I have 230,000 here, so it's nice. This is a nice one here. And what I do here is I have. Wait a minute, that's another one. I have this thing basically. This is the NYSE, New York Stock Exchange. This is to the downside, so I can have both, right? My market is the ES. I think if I had Nasdaq, I probably would have Nasdaq here, but I don't trade Nasdaq. Nasdaq is very thin. Notice, for example, right now we have the ES with 230K, and Nasdaq is less than 100. So basically, like 3 times the volume that Nasdaq, but and that explains the volatility of that market too. Look again here. Look at this again. Look at this. There's something coming here to this market. I have this one here. Come on. Volume here. Really high volume here at this inside bar. You don't have blocks, just regular blocks here. Yeah, for the upcoming days, I want to see how if this area of high volume here becomes support or resistance, or it is used as a path to launch, or maybe like a ceiling from where the market can break again. Oh, the next thing I was going to replay. Let's replay this. I'm going to duplicate, so you will see what I'm talking about, right? If you want to not lose sight of the market, I'm going to replay it down here. Let's try to cover all this thing here, move the chart here, got Nasdaq here, ES is still here. Chart, replay chart. Let's replay it, speed, let's do it 10 times clear speed, time 920, date 28, play. Let's clear all the data and start. The data I have here is from yesterday. Let's play this one. This is the overnight. This is the spike over the overnight. And remember, this is 10 times faster. Well, $69.12, 69.12. This is the high of the previous day. This is the high of the overnight, or the previous overnight, and this is the current overnight. So this all-time high now is up here, right? It's right there. Pay attention to how this market moves, right? If there is any change in the way how it moves. I'm starting to see volume here. Market opening right at the high, selling from the high of the overnight, which is not a good high. Some whites, but immediately volume starts to come. And when it comes, it what I was watching. Let me pause this here. The gap. This would be the gap here, right? This would be the gap. This area, this one here, is the base of this spike. This is the overnight spike here. This is overnight spike. Overnight spike. Let's keep playing here. Up to this moment, I start to see volume coming here. I start to see, okay, volume's coming, okay. Whites, more whites, nice, coming, is checking the spike, basically rejecting price. Okay. So this is an opportunity. This is the opportunity here now. Yeah. Close the gap. Just volume keeps coming here. And when I see this, okay, there is something here. There could be something. Fields is up and up, and let's stop this again, let's pause, and let's see where it opens, no? Okay, probably trying to challenge this area here, you know? Market being bought here. Or targeting this area. Fields targeting this high, getting back inside or closing the gap at the potential area that something may come around this huge volume here, right? And the 6,800 below. Uh-oh. What the heck happened here? I'm replaying this. I don't want to replay that. This is what I want to replay. Keeps going. Now this to monitor for continuation. You always have to monitor for continuation. Sorry about that. This area has been taken, the volume. What follows, closing the gap, volume keeps coming to the downside. It's seriously targeting the gap, close. Alright, now I am thinking I should close this one. Now how white's here. Seller is taken. And what follows after that? I think what follows here is a big retracement here. You know, there starts here is the way it starts to stall. You know, we have volume here coming. More volume coming, right? But what happened after the volume comes here? Do we have downside continuation? Which would mean that this is selling. No, it's not. Okay, see? If there's any shorts here, and look at that. Look, do you see what happened here? You know, tremendous spike that has from this level up to here. That happened really fast. That usually is an entry, you know, because it shakes some shorts here. But, you know, context also is important here. Now this is a volume, you can see filling this void here. Now let's try again. Let's try again. And the next thing you see is a formation here. It dries on the upper side. It starts to build to the downside. But it just doesn't have acceptance. at this moment. But this time I was out of this market. Because the risk increases here. It becomes obvious now what the market is doing. And it was this is one of the setups that I think I like it. When the market attempts to close the gap. This is it. I will call it this. I'm going to remove this. That's the only thing I want to show. How can I update this? Darn it. What happened here, man? Let's save this chart book. Save this chart book. Close chart book. Yes, and opening again. I love Sierra, how fast it does. It closes and reopens. Okay. Where we were, where I was. Alright, this area here is being. Can you see how this area is being challenged? This low has not been taken. Here is drawing. Here is drawing. Now, how much volume do we have in this level? It's not easy. No, it's not low volume. We have 30,000 up here yesterday. This is the daily profiles. 30,000 here, and now more volume is building up just above this node of volume here. But so far, it's not having acceptance. You have a lot of whites here. Right? But these whites, you have see this can be excess. Okay, this can be excess up here, but I can see this also as the market trying to close the gap, but selling with low volume, right? Having some volume here, maybe aiming to the upside, and that possibly is what most traders are thinking now. The risk has increased considerably for any type of trade at this moment. And basically, I think that was the opportunity for today. Let me show you something else. I hope you have noticed this coming into the current week. Yes. Okay. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at these highs here. Did you see these highs here? What do you think we have above these highs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 highs here. What do you think we have above here? What do you think we have above these highs here? These charts do not reflect the overnight. I have just regular trading hours here. Do I? Futures? No, yeah, just regular trading hours. This is 10 minutes. This is 30 minutes. The 10 minutes, I believe it has regular trading hours. I mean overnight. It includes the overnight here in these charts here. So I can see here. Remember the volume for this is about 1,900,000, something like that, and all of this here is 140, 160, something like that. 200. I was wrong. 200. I believe the previous day was lower. I mean, I don't see that over there now. 190 before the previous day. That's the weekend. I just have too much charts, right? This can be confusing. It can be confusing, but that is what is required for this business. We have to be able to monitor a lot of information, to absorb a lot of information from multiple sources, and have them up there just ready to be used on command. The volume has decreased now. Volume is very low here. I think this is it. This was it. I'm not going to open. I don't open Nasdaq. I don't open the profile for Nasdaq. What I have here is the same thing that I have here in the ES on this side, on this part of the chart. This one here. This one here. The whole thing here. The whole thing is this one here, Nasdaq for Nasdaq. Oh, this one. I can see the daily and the overnight here. And since I don't trade this market, I am not familiar with the nuances of Nasdaq, but I can see volume, right? I have purples, I have reds here, accumulation of volume, trying to go higher here, weakening the market, and the market has a resolution, but it doesn't attract volume. Currently, the action is to the downside in Nasdaq, and the action is to the upside in the ES. If I look a little bit closer here, this may look like a long liquidation. I wonder if this market may have some downside extension here. Now, if there's going to be any downside here, for these shorts to remain somewhat safe, value will need to keep moving lower and lower and lower, right? Until getting inside this area here. If it can get back inside yesterday's value area, which by the way we have highlighted many weaknesses on this day, right? The unfinished action around this, just below the 6900, the weakness that lays below, and the lack of volume that started the period to be really crazy low volume that started all this rally. Okay. All right, unless you have any questions. Or if you have any questions, no, not questions, but comments, right? I am nobody here to believe that I got all the answers here. I am just as humble that anybody out there can be. I have been defeated so many times by the market. I have terrible strikes, terrible drawdowns, terrible losses. And just want you to know, right? I wanted to put out there this stream as a way to journal what my journey is, right? Oh, I was going to talk about before I was going to take a break, but before I go to break, to finish my coffee here, let me do. I was going to talk about the setups. One of the setups. Now we have a gap here. We have a gap. Market goes higher. Another gap goes higher. Another gap, and you know what's happening, right? It's going to keep going higher and higher, right? Gap, right? Consider this movement, right? Or any kind of movement, but for the following. When we have that, we have a market gap into the upside, gap into the downside, break into the downside also with a gap. Now, all the setups that can happen here, all right, or the setups that come from this kind of action, market opens, this is the opening, this is the gap close. There's some news coming here regarding trade. Watch out what may happen, how the market reacts. Okay, I have a gap here. This is the opening with a gap. You know, this is the gap here. This is gap close. Two things may come. The market may attempt to close the gap, right? But as it does, volume decreases. Volume decreases, or there is no sellers. Tempo, or pace, or speed, or whatever you want to call it, also decreases. Or you can see some sort of the market is stalling, just, you know, moving in a certain way, and when it comes to a certain level, it just stops, man. All right, it just stops. That I classify that as closing the gap action that has good also failing. That one can be a good entry for a long here. Huh? Another one that comes, another type of setup that comes from the same kind of opening, gap, or is, remember, all has to be seen in context. Is opening here, the market just not even makes an attempt to close the gap here. Not even makes an attempt to close the gap here. Just maybe making down a couple ticks, maybe a couple handles, and then just starts to go higher. Fills a lot of whites. This is the most dangerous. But if reds come here, keep going higher. Reds come here, keep going higher. That's a sign of strong market. I better join this. I better find a way to join this movement to the upside. Right. The context for this movement, which I believe is what happened, it is what was happening, is the shorts, right? The stops that we have here, the short covering that is in progress from this day here, still, right? It's unbelievable how far can this market be fueled by those traders being trapped, right? That's refusing to close and just, you know, being crushed. And I think this action that we see here, this looks like, actually for me at least, it looks, this one here and this one here, what follows today and what follows what happened yesterday, looks like, you know, those shorts throwing the towel, finally giving up, right? And the context for this kind of trade is that if what is fueling this movement is that kind of those kind of traders, those kind of positions, I don't expect this to last forever. Right? And granted, the market doesn't move in straight lines. Markets always do this, both directions, upside, downside. The next setup that I have here from the same kind of action, same kind of gaps and everything, is when volume, you know, when you have a gap, volume, market opens, wherever it opens, right? It may attempt to go higher, and what the same thing that happened here happens, right? is rejected right away after a couple ticks or a couple of handles, and then it starts to move in the opposite direction, and volume starts to come. We may have some whites, but the market comes back, fills those whites with purple or red, and continues higher. Next time it doesn't leave whites. Next time we have purples, we have reds, keeps going lower. More reds, keeps going lower, right? But you have to put, or I have to put this in okay. So there are good odds that this market can close the gap. And that is my next level to monitor for continuation. And always have to be watching the market. Always have to be watching the market. Some trades, or at least I realized that I got better results when my trade works fast. I have to improve my patience to hold in a trade, or I have to monitor a trade that takes longer to develop. Short in this market carries for me really high risk, even though I think that the risk is really high in the long side now. Okay, but that is what the market is doing now. I'm not going to fight. Another piece of context for this trade is this spike here. The market is opening way above the spike. The market hasn't opened inside the spike. You remember, I think that was Friday with CPI, when we have a huge spike and the market opened right at the center, and I said, and we talk about that, those kind of openings are for me, are very tricky. I have been, my butt has been, whipped by the market many, many times. Right? Now we don't have that. Now we have the market is open way above this high, this spike. The base of the spike is down here. Right now, the market is above the base of the spike. So that's sign of acceptance of this spike. Right? That would be kind of like a bigger time frame to me. I got to be very aware what kind of market I trade, what is my time frame. You may have a different, another guy can have different time frame. Right? But for me, for my specific time frame, this is relevance. Right? I'm seeing acceptance above higher prices, but right now it seems the market has gone too high. Too high to find new buyers, and it's an area where sellers might consider like a fair price to sell, right? And that's the job of the market. Find an area where two-way trade can take place. This downside that we have today, I'm going to come back to the setup now, to the setups that I am talking here, right? This setup that happened has to consider this gap here. We have the low here at the base of the spike, basically the 6,900. And what do we have above this? Is that the 6,900? Yeah, there is 6,900. Look at this beautiful number, right? There's a bunch of zeros there. This is a number that attracts traders as well. I'm not saying that the market will go over there, but it's an obvious reference, right? Just like gold targeting the 5,000, right? And what is another? Those are basically the setups that I have from this kind of action. Now, using the same kind of thinking, when I have a range, The same kind of process is applied here. We can have a breakout to this range and failure. If it fails, the destination can be the opposite side of this range. And the same thing can happen to the downside. If it has acceptance, I will immediately look to the left side to see what do I have here. Maybe have another range. Same thing goes to the downside. Very similar thinking there. Now look at Nasdaq. Man. We have a downside. We have action to the downside. The action to the downside has ended here. We don't have ending. Now we still have an action to the upside in the ES. And look at that. This market has closed the gap, but the action is to the upside. Look at this, man. I have just checked this low. This is increasing the risk here. What level is this? 6909. This is right below. Okay. This area here, these are dashed reds that I have here. The dashed reds, those are unfinished actions. There's a lot of accumulation here of those kind of, two back-to-back unfinished actions to the downside. And also we have the weakness on these days. This low is the question of the, so the risk in the long side is very high here. Very high. I'll finish my breakfast and leave this stream running here. Alright? Let me know if you have any comments. I have made a decision not touch this market again. We'll see what we have tomorrow. We may have something tomorrow. Okay. Just check your calendars, man. We have FOMC tomorrow, Chairman Powell press conference, GDP, weekly. This is the weekly jobless. We have PCE on Friday. Relative to news, to earnings, we have Meta Wednesday after the close. We have Microsoft after the close. We have Alphabet. We have Google after the close. We have Amazon after the close. We have Apple after the close Thursday. Alright, so this is just huge. Huge, a very packed news week we have here. Alright, let's see now if Nasdaq closes the gap. I'm watching this. As I watch this, this is very slow. Very slow. This inside bar has been taken. The low this inside bar has been taken, and we have some continuation that is repairing this POC, this low, this questionable low during the first 7 minutes of this period. It's kind of is in sync with Nasdaq, but I'm not going to do anything. Probably this is targeting now the 6,900. The market might be targeting this level here, or right, that coincide. This is basically also a spike, the base of the spike here. Notice how volume has decreased here. Right? But this is not different. Right? This is not different to what happened yesterday or the day previous. It's very, as you can see here, volume has been consistently decreasing here. And this market is to the upside. The day is to the upside. Notice where value is. Okay? The day is to the upside. It is a rotational day. It went higher. Now it's going lower. It went higher here in Nasdaq. Now has taken this low out, and notice how far this has retraced. No? It has taken this low out. Notice where it is, right? So it is very risky, no? The thing, this is one of the things when you have some. This has happened to me before so many times. And the only way I found to explain this is, the market makes you believe that you can make money, that you can win, right? You can win. It appeals to your emotions. You gotta win, and then right after that you lose part of you or what you have win, and then you lose more and more, and then you have the day red. Sometimes it's just as simple as, you got your day, step out and have patience. Nothing may happen. I don't have goals for the day. My goal is not to make any dollar amount. My goal is to watch the market with the major goal to being a better trader each day. And the process is actually to improve myself as a person, right? When I do that, the part of the job that includes a trader comes. It is just a consequence of that. Now look at this, man. How can you imagine? Can you imagine the shorts that are trapped now here? This is Nasdaq. Can you imagine the shorts? Oh, this market is going to close the gap. Look at where it is now. It might close the gap. It might close the gap today. But look at this. Look at the pain that is inflicted. Can you imagine short in this market here? No, now I am here, right? Now I am, the market has taken this low out. Now is when I recoup all the losses I have the last week. Now finally I'm having my short work. All right, I am going to call it a day here. If you have any comments or questions, just send me an email. Those are very appreciated. All right, have a wonderful rest of the day. Stay safe. Hope I can see you. I don't know if I'm going to be doing these streams. I want to remain focused in what the market does. That has been a reason why I didn't have it the past days. But I will do as soon as I have an opportunity to do it. All right. Have a good rest of the day. Stay safe. Bye-bye.